Yeah, but when they're still booking Jericho in general, it's a loss for wrestling and a loss for America. Anyway, welcome to VWP. It's Vacant Wrestling. My name is Yusuf, and I'm kicking off the show today. We're coming off what is one of the crazier storyline-wise AEW shows of the year. And like I said, I am Yusuf, of course, flanked as usual by the man of the hour, too sweet to be sour, our main man himself, Tyler.
Wow, that was a great introduction. I appreciate that.
And Tim. / Emil. He is very tired, for he has had a long night.
Everybody say you're Emil.
Everyone say you're. So normally,
never mind. I'll tell you.
Would you like to say your quip before I quip?
No, it wasn't a quip.
Sure. All right. So obviously, normally we kick things off with WWE, but because we are recording at the time of early on Sunday, October the 13th, it is not 12 hours after AEW WrestleDream, and I think this is where we should start because a lot happened last night, especially regarding the main event. For those of you that do not know, spoilers, of course, ahead. Let's just get the Band-Aid off right now. Bryan Danielson is no longer the AEW World Champion. He lost last night to Jon Moxley via knockout, essentially. And Moxley is now the AEW World Champion. And more importantly, I think people are forgetting, but people are starting to realize this is the end of Bryan Danielson's full-time career. This is now
that was quick.
Yeah.
Very quick.
Little,
also,
right?
The world title's in a bag now.
Yes, the world title is in a bag. So let's just talk. I think let's just get to the chase. The match was fine for anyone that did watch it. I watched the most of it, and it was a good match. A lot of Moxley really trying to just destroy Danielson. That was the whole idea. That was what they were building up for weeks, obviously, every time they would attack him. The bag spot, if we all remember that. And Moxley's whole thing was, this isn't personal. This is about something else. There was an obsession in Moxley's mind, and all of that came out last night during this match. There were some moments on the steps where he's like arguing with fans. He's just bashing Daniel's head in. There's a moment where Marina Shafir takes off the mats from the floor. There's a couple spots there that are kind of like, and then finally the match ends with Danielson spitting in Moxley's face as he's trying to get up. Mox realizes, okay, fuck it. I'm done with you. This isn't about you. And we're ending this now. Hits him with a Gotch style pile driver, which, for anyone that knows, hurts, and especially hurts more for people that have had neck issues, namely Bryan Danielson, right? So hits him with a Gotch style pile driver, puts him in a sleeper, and that's it. That is the end of the World Championship reign of Bryan Danielson, and that is the end of the full-time career of Bryan Danielson. After the match, Danielson's on the ground. Blackpool Combat Club comes in, so it's Pac, Marina Shafir, Claudio, and the same thing. They grab the belt, throw it in the bag, because they don't give a shit about the belt. It was never about the belt, was it? And they start doing their thing, attacking Danielson. Everyone gets involved, yada, yada, yada. Wheeler Yuta comes in, and you're thinking, okay, well, Wheeler, he was siding with Bryan just a week ago. They had their tag match together, and for the most part, it seems like he's been fighting back the Blackpool Combat Club of what they're doing and how they're attacking everyone. That's not something he wants to do. Eventually, he attacks Darby Allin. They give him the bag. He, suffocates Bryan Danielson, and all the baby faces of the roster come out, try to save him. They all get thrown out basically by Blackpool Combat Club. Moxley just looks over at the carnage they've caused and basically knocked out Bryan Danielson and goes, "Yeah, okay, our work here is done. Let's go. Let's leave. I'm bored. Let's go. Time to leave." They go. They stretcher Danielson out in a moment of dead silence in the crowd and Excalibur crying. And yeah, I don't know. How are we feeling about this new AEW World Champion? This is his fourth reign, by the way. This is Jon Moxley's fourth reign as AEW World Champion.
This is the most reigns from any individual as AEW World Champion, correct?
That's what I was going to
That is correct.
Thank you.
That would make him total a five-time world champion. So good for Mox. I don't know. So the silence, was it like crickets? Like we don't get it. Crickets were sad. Crickets like
It was like a mix of we're sad and like, oh shit, he could very well be like legitimately hurt, because it was like as they were like putting him on a stretcher and taking him out of there, like trying to sell how bad the beatdown was and the fact
I
that he
never
was
believed that
suffocated.
anymore. I know Brian is a hell of a worker. He likes to convulse and
Fair.
So-
That he did do that as well. And to be fair, this was in Tacoma. This is where Bryant's from. He's from Washington State. So a lot of hometown fans, I'm assuming, in the audience. I'm assuming his family was there somewhere. If they weren't out in the crowd, they were backstage. I loved it. Yusuf and I talked a little bit before the pod got rolling, and this is the most excited I've been for any AEW storyline, period. Because it involves people that, while there are people that are considered like made stars and like the new, like some of them could be the old guard, like Moxley a little bit, but like not really. These are all like brand new stars, and Danielson being the star of the previous era as well. These are all mostly stars of a new era, and it's clear that the goal is to build new stars. I couldn't help but notice the through line throughout the entire night, because I did not catch the whole show, but from what I did see, there was a through line of talking to all of these baby faces with a lot of potential, to Hook, to Orange Cassidy, to Darby Allin, and all these people going up to them and saying, you could do really great things, Like if you just like get to that next level, you could do some really great things. And to Orange Cassidy, if you actually tried, you could do some really great things. And I think that that's where we're going with it. And Private Party too. Private Party. If it, like, the Bucks being like, oh, you beat us in the past, but where have you been the last 5 years, right? This is all, to me, a build to get over a crop of brand new baby faces. And maybe not brand new in some cases, but Darby Allin, Orange Cassidy, the Private Party, like all of those guys could be the guys to come up and like take down this faction. And also the Blackpool Combat Club, they need a new name, because it's not giving Blackpool Combat Club anymore. It's giving a whole different identity.
I mean, on that point of making new stars and then using Darby Allin as your first example is a little funny to me, because that's what they've literally built him to be, the heart and soul of that company. If you watch enough, and this is no, like, you don't like watching AEW and you put your effort into WWE, so I get that. What's the rules of engagement? Watch the product, because they've been building these stars for like the last 5 years.
But I think that's the point.
I think they're now at that point. Like,
yeah,
like no way Darby's not at that point. No way Orange isn't at that point.
What I mean is like building him to that world title level. Like, yes, he is the heart and soul of that company. Yes, he is a workhorse. But what's one thing that's eluded him? The world title. He got to this point because he had a world title shot, and he decided to put it up on the line against Moxley and lost the world title shot, and then Moxley won the title off of that world title shot. So to me, I think this is a long way to send Darby back to the bottom and work his way back up to eventually take down Moxley and take that world title. That's more of what I mean. I'm not saying that he's not at that level, but I'm just saying, like, these faces, Darby's the lead among them. Darby's definitely the step above, the Orange Cassidy and the Private Party and those people,
Hook,
right?
Yeah, all those guys.
Hook, that's who I forgot. I'm sorry. Hook was another guy that was like involved in this whole, you could be doing a lot more if, like, you deserve a lot more. You could be doing a lot more. You have a lot more potential, that kind of thing.
Especially now that the FTW title has been retired. That is also a thing. I think, something Ty and I were talking about before we really started rolling here. I feel like this is going to lead to these AEW, I don't want to call them OGs, essentially, because I feel like that's been thrown around too many times in other companies and other storylines.
It's not OGs, it's not pillars, it's not
pillars, it's not, well, Darby is technically one of the pillars, but yeah.
One of them is a pillar.
Yeah, one of them actually is a pillar, to be fair. But
they're not all pillars.
No. It's starting to give the vibe of they're going to dig down and reach that like aggression level that allows them to dethrone all these old guys around them of like, hey, y'all have been in charge and fucking around here just a little too long. It's time for that to end. Like I was telling Tyler this earlier, I think the buildup of Orange Cassidy, I think the buildup of Hook with Private Party and other person that isn't Darby Allin, because I feel like Darby's going to be focused on the world title. This is what we're going to build towards that finally dethrones the Elite from all their titles. Jack's going to lose the TNT title. Okada's going to lose that Continental title. The Bucks are going to lose the tag titles. And then eventually with Blackpool, Moxley is going to lose that world title to Darby Allin. It's just a matter of time. Don't know how long that's going to take, but I think this is the lead up to them being all dethroned. Like, this is where we're going to get that new era of AEW. Where we don't have to rely on the lead. Yeah, probably. I don't think they do it any sooner because Full Gear's next, but that's only a month away at this point.
No one cares about Full Gear.
No.
However, I'm still down to go. Just putting that out there.
I will say, somebody I watched said that they could see Darby winning that title by World's End. I don't know if I see that.
That would be December, right?
That would be December, yeah.
It's their end of the year show. I don't see that either.
I think they want a big show. I think if they want to have some conversations during Mania season, they're going to pick either Revolution or the one right after Dynasty.
Yeah.
Or if they really want to milk it and go all the way, which I think Darby deserves, is they would hold off until All In.
So here's another thing, another wrench in this whole story here's another wrench in this story that Yusuf and I talked about as well, is that what happens with this story of Will Ospreay climbing his way back to the world title, and when does that happen?
I thought you were going to say something completely different.
Does this what did you think I was going to say?
I'm curious now. What do you think he was going to say?
I thought we were going to talk about the higher power, but never mind.
Oh my God.
Oh, that too. Well, we'll get to that. But with the Will Ospreay thing, if we're talking about building Darby to the world title, what does this mean for Ospreay? Does Ospreay win? Is Ospreay actually the guy to lead this crop of guys to these titles, or is it Darby? Or do they, because I feels like Darby should be the one based on the story they're trying to tell. But Ospreay's the one that they've been building before all of this was even a thing.
It almost gives me like a Sami Zayn, Cody Rhodes situation.
Kind of, yeah.
Like it's like we love Darby and we love Sami the same way. Them winning a respective world title is more fun in a face sense because they're so underdog versus somebody like Ospreay or Cody, who is like the obvious big baby face choice, which is still fun and still good, especially when you have a good heel. So really all it matters how long and what they're doing with it, I think. So if who's gonna do the Cody run, it's not Darby. I don't see that for Darby. I do want Darby, but I don't see that.
I think it's a tough situation because you're kind of already building up Darby to be the dude that eventually dethrones Mox. I mean, again, he had that world title shot. He decided to put it up on the line against Mox, lost it. Mox won the world title. Darby's probably thinking, damn it, I could have,
it should have been me.
It should have been you 8 years ago, Dolph. We've gone over this. But throwing Ospreay into the whole thing, I think, is a weird thing to do. Because if you're going to spend all this time building up Darby Allin, it makes sense because there's an actual story between Darby and Mox going on. There isn't anything going on between Will Ospreay and Mox or the Blackpool Combat Club, right? So throwing Will Ospreay in there would be like, Will, go win the world title. And you're like, what, why me? What? I have nothing going on with these guys right now, bruv. You just, it's weird. Plus, I think they're gonna push the whole Ospreay Takeshita thing a little further.
I was gonna say he's a little busy.
Yeah, he's a little busy right now. I don't know how much. Well, yeah, that's true. Plus, he's gonna be feuding properly with Don Callis and the family now. So
his man's has turned on him.
Yeah, that was
some other quick results. That's interesting. I did see the segment on Wednesday where Don Callis did a trade ski. I was like, that's interesting.
That's true.
Yeah,
I've been calling for Takeshita to win that title, so I'm glad that they did end up going with Takeshita to be the guy to beat Will.
I feel like it was a given.
It is. I mean, it's strange though that they keep giving Will and then keep building him up on in the last 3 months or so, 3 or 4 months or so, and then they just keep taking it away again. It's very weird how they're making him this top level. I want to call him a main eventer, but I guess he's a mid carder. This top tier higher mid carder who has the belt, and everybody's like, wow, he's so good, he's so this, he's so that. How are you gonna beat him? And then everybody seems to beat him. He seems to keep losing that title.
Right.
He can't hold it.
He can't.
I wonder if there's a play there, storyline wise, of course.
That's what I'm thinking. Like
that's
it seems
super
like that's
interesting.
an even longer term story to get him to the world title because there's
And
it's a
can he hold
no-brainer.
Can he
He's
hold
gonna-
a belt for more than 2 minutes?
that
Yeah.
could be the story when he wins the world title. Like that'd be a great first story. Whoever challenges him to be like, listen, congrats, you're the world champ, but
I saw you a few years
Yeah.
ago, man. You was
results
hold that
show.
for-
Survey says that you can't hold that for shit. So
so I'm gonna take that.
right, yeah, man. I think it was good. I think and I think it'll be good in the long run. I trust what's going on with AEW for the first time, probably ever. You know, I could see what they were trying to go for in a lot of times, but I was always in the back of my mind like, oh fuck, they could fuck this up. I will give them the benefit of the doubt because they hooked me with this one. They really did.
I think there's good things coming from AEW with everything going on. It's just a matter of
Until
time
the higher
and
power shows up.
until the higher power shows up, which I'm kind of glad he didn't.
It was me all along.
Imagine.
Here
imagine
comes
if
the
they-
money. Here comes the money. Money, 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 money.
It's gonna be a remix of it though.
Yeah, it
Yeah,
is.
it has to be. Dude, imagine in the
vomit.
dead silence of that moment last night after the main event, and everyone's like, oh my God, what happened to Brian? And you just hear, here comes the money. What?
Here we go.
Here comes the money. And Shane's just dancing down to the ring for some reason. You're like, Shane, you're
He
like
comes out-
53.
he
What are you
comes out-
doing?
Would they have popped?
I don't know.
I think they would have been angry.
I think they would have. I think they would have popped. I
think
think
they
no matter
Would've
what,
popped.
people
I think
would
they would have
pop.
then realized what was happening. and
Yeah.
Yeah.
allowed it.
Yeah.
Maybe the smart move. Maybe like
Maybe
the weird
not.
move.
I don't
know.
think Shane will be an on-screen talent. I really don't. I know he wants to. I don't know if AEW will let it happen.
That's it. Again, it's super messy, like we've talked
It
about
is.
before. That's the messiest. That's the messiest move they could make.
I don't know what's messier, that or showing the all-in footage or the all-out, whatever the all-in footage, right? Wasn't it?
That was-
Bringing in a McMahon is infinitely messier.
Yeah, I think bringing it
Yeah,
because here's the thing
especially
about
during this time.
the all-in footage was messy for its own reason of like that was just being petty, of them being like we're gonna use this actual thing that happened in a storyline where the guy that was involved in it isn't even working for us anymore. Like,
Well, at the time, there was supposed to be the Cody Road to WrestleMania documentary, like the whole like how they
oh
flipped the
yeah,
Rock.
right.
That whole thing was supposed to drop on the same day, so that was meant to be that. Which, if that had actually happened on that day, with the all-in footage dropping, that would have been.
Well, then
wild.
The Rock said, "Hunter, let me fix up this
So then The
documentary
Rock
for you
said-
before we post
So then
this."
I told him we had to hold the date.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
We had to pull the plug.
I did want to I did want to talk about that a little bit too. Like, at this point I don't know what Shane's role would be in this story. I think that it's gotten a little too far from including Shane McMahon. I just don't know. I feel like we still don't know the motivations of the group either. Of
That's okay. Did we really
Blackpool.
ever know the motivation of the Shield?
No,
that's fair.
that is fair. Actually, it's a very good argument. Oh,
Yeah,
Speaking
that
of the
is very good.
Shield,
Yeah.
Great
This is an interesting stat that I dropped in
the
the chat
craziest
today.
stat ever. Tyler, would you like to?
Yeah, I would.
Did
So
We're known for weird stats around here.
here's a fact about
are.
Bryan Danielson. His last match on Raw was against Seth Rollins. His last match on SmackDown was against Roman Reigns. And his last match as a full-time wrestler was against Jon Moxley. He has been effectively retired from Raw, SmackDown, and being a full-time wrestler by each member of the Shield.
And mind you, Bryan Danielson was a member
Part
of
of the
that
team
tag
that
team
beat him-
that beat the Shield.
Beat their undefeated streak.
Crazy.
Yeah, that's a cool strat.
They should put that in the Roman Reigns storyline of him being haunted by his past constantly.
My God.
Uh,
Seth
you
Rollins even retired Bryan first from a respective show.
no.
I do have one gripe about WrestleDream. If you guys
Ooh,
don't mind me
okay.
jumping to a different match.
Always do.
Is it
So-
that Chris Jericho didn't win the
No.
good?
No, I'm rejoicing about that.
Oh, aren't we all? It was.
I'm actually jumping to the opening match
Oh, the
because
Perry
Jay
match?
White defeated Hangman Page. Fucking
that
for
thing.
why? Fucking for why? Way to make that match with Swerve look like it means nothing.
I mean,
That
did it
was
mean anything?
garbage. It
I mean,
should
it was a
have.
but it was a blood feud match. Like,
Doesn't matter. That was a big match. That was
Like-
the biggest win of Hangman's career,
So-
and he goes right away and wins he loses to Jay White at the next pay-per-view. Jay White has done nothing. Hangman came off the biggest win of his career. He should feel vindicated. He should not lose a match like this for months after that match against Swerve. And what do they do? Immediately book him to lose. Why?
I feel like
no
those double
sense.
middle fingers.
I feel like this is where it's going to get fun, because this is very much a argument point now of the show, because Tyler is very mad about this, obviously. And here's the thing: you have a very good point. After all they've done with Hangman, you have a very good point. After all they've done with Hangman, you have him lose. However, one of us here happens to be a giant Bullet Club mark. That person being me, and I am all fucking for the fact that Jay White beat Hangman Page, because now this is yes. But Jay White is a former leader of Bullet Club, and then was doing nothing when he got to AEW, which is a damn shame. But
like
more
every other big
right?
talent that goes.
Anyway,
see Ricochet for examples.
Listen, if they wanted to treat that match like it was a big match, you can't just have the guy that won immediately lose. Like, especially to Jay White. I'm sorry. I love Jay White. He deserves a lot more. But look at how they've booked this guy. And now they have him just beat Hangman Page all of a sudden. Like, come on, dude. Like, AEW, like, you have it right there. Like, Hangman could be so much bigger now that he just won that match against Swerve. Now Swerve's back, and Hangman lost in the same night. Like, it feels like everything's already undone from this whole thing.
You can argue that, but I feel like there's another way of looking at it, in that we kind of have to wait for everything to unravel. The reason I say this is because Hangman's whole thing, since he lost the AEW world title and, like, you know, with everything with Swerve, has been, this man is going, like, unhinged, insane, like, he is off the fucking rails and the loony bin, everything, right? That blood feud with Swerve is a lot based around that whole Hangman Page has gone fucking crazy, and he will do anything he can to try to get back to the spotlight. He will try anything he can to get back to where he once was, because he has been thrown so far down that he doesn't know where to go. Him beating Swerve in that blood feud match, yes, that is what we needed. We needed Hangman to win, because it helps him. It helps him get his motivation back of, like, okay, one of my demons is finally fucking conquered. Here we go. We're going. He loses in the opening match of the next pay-per-view to a guy who has had his number for years. That's going to drive him even crazier. I think this is going to be partly a good thing for Hangman, story-wise. I think it helps them both. Here, I get it. Maybe he shouldn't have lost. That's fine. But it kind of does something for both of them. And plus, from what I heard, apparently everyone's a big fan of the fact that Jay White won. Of course, me specifically as well. But it does two things. It pushes Jay White a little more, because, yeah, he wasn't doing anything. He wasn't booked well. Then he won the tag titles, which is weird. We don't talk about that, really. And then he got hurt. He was gone for the last few months, right? So he finally comes back from injury. First thing he does is beat Hangman Page in a pay-per-view match. Fuck yeah. That's what we need. We need that proper Jay White. Like, we need the motivation for both of them back. With Jay White, it's the same thing of, like, if you even go back far, because AEW loves doing revisionist history with, like, other companies. When Jay White lost the main event at the Tokyo Dome, that man lost his smile. That man lost everything. He was not the same Jay White. He was not this charismatic, just shit talk. Like, he is the greatest man on the mic when he is, like, in the zone, right? He loses that IWGP world title. He comes to AEW. He loses the world title match to MJF because of the whole devil thing, while constantly telling MJF, yo, dumbass, it's not me attacking all these people. How could it be me if I got attacked? Stop doing this. He loses that match. His mojo's gone. This win against Hangman will help push Jay White back to the Jay White we all know. And this loss for Hangman will further tighten or even loosen, essentially, that screw in Hangman's brain of being like, you're fucking kidding. I lost again to this motherfucker? No, that can't happen again. This is where we start to get, like, true, like, well, we've already got it, but I think this is where we're going to start pushing the boundary of, like, unhinged Hangman.
I think Tyler just wants them to make a choice. Like, if you're going to push Hangman, push him. If you want to push Jay, that's totally fine. But tell me that. Just tell me that.
But also,
exactly.
like, build to that. Like, don't just have Jay all of a sudden feud with Hangman and then just do it.
That's what I mean. Like,
yeah,
tell me
like,
that. If that's
right.
if that's the move,
but also like I think that this could have been done at any other period other than the pay-per-view right after one of the most brutal matches we've seen in modern wrestling. For one of the most brutal feuds that we have seen in modern wrestling. Like, I compare, like, think about it. Like, okay, let's take the most equivalent match that we've seen in a different company. And I think you know where I'm going with this. Yes. Yeah, I'm gonna pick Punk and Drew. Let's say Punk and Drew, for example. Punk won that match, right? Let's say Punk goes off in this random feud. We obviously know his next move is going to be Gunther, all right? But before he gets to Gunther, what if we got Punk versus, like, I don't know, like, Bronson Reed, and Bronson Reed won? Like, that's how it feels. It feels like we went from the peak of this amazing story, amazing match, and then we go to a match that's a step down, understandably so, if we want to cool off for a little bit, but we want to keep the winner hot. So you have the last guy win. So you have Punk usually win against Bronson. But no, Bronson, in this hypothetical, Bronson beats Punk, and it's like, oh, for why? What's the point? Like, that's how I feel. Like... And like you said, Yusuf, the whole thing with excuse me, with Jay White having Hangman's number through the years and through different companies, that sold me on it. Like, I'm with you. Like, that's definitely a good point. That makes me feel a little bit less angry about it. But it just it doesn't seem like a good idea from a perspective. It's like we were talking about with Will, right? The second he has something good, he can't hang on to it, and it's almost to the point where it defies logic and reality. Like, it's like Hangman just got the biggest vindication that he could have had in his entire career. Like you said, biggest story against one of his biggest rivals, and then he immediately loses to just this Jay White, like this random story that just popped up. I don't know, just doesn't sit well.
I think part of it, there's definitely a lot of downside to it. I understand that, but at the same time, you can kind of find a silver lining in everyone's favorite old argument, especially Tim's. Wins and losses don't matter.
That is not true. That is not how wrestling works.
I know.
It is not true. It also is. I can now say that because WWE wins and losses matter as well. And you guys know my basis is WWE. So my basis in thinking and logic and wrestling is WWE. So, yep, I agree.
Yeah. No, I get it. I mean, the thing is, like, it's hard to. I guess it's not hard because I just justified it earlier, but with the situation of Hangman and Jay White, this is a problem that I have been talking about regarding AEW for, like, I don't even know how long. Like, before we brought the podcast back, there's like 6 different guys that should be AEW world champion right now, but they can't be because there's only one title. When Will Ospreay showed up, I said the same thing. He should be world champion, but then they got Jay White, then they got Okada, then Hangman came back, and you're like, who the pick someone?
Well, not only that, then they also book them in a way that's like they play coy with, like, oh, they're gonna be the world champ. Oh, never mind. Oh, they're gonna be world champ. Oh, never mind. Like, they just keep doing that. You know what I mean? Like, it's
so
like,
far through the
nice
major.
That we have options.
It's nice that we have options, but so far through all the major free agent signings that AEW has done in the last 2 years. So again, that being mainly, Jay White, Okada, Ospreay, right? 2 of those guys have had world title matches. One of them, the guy we all expected to probably be in a world title match by now, hasn't. And that's Okada.
I do notice that they're trying to be sparing with bringing talent in and shoving them in the title picture. They're trying to be sparing with that, especially at the high level. Like, somebody like a Ricochet can come in and go for something like the Continental Crown, whatever. That's cool. Somebody like a Mercedes can come into the women's division and take a mid-card belt. That's fine.
Right.
But I noticed they're being very selective with who can just come in and waltz into the world title scene.
But then it's interesting because they're willing to throw. But then they're also so willing to throw 4 world titles at Moxley. And again, that's not a dig. That's not a bad thing. It's just like they have their people that they're willing to just be like throwing the world title at, but then other people that they're like, you're not ready yet. These people aren't ready yet. The story's not ready yet. Like, it's just interesting.
Because Mox is only somewhat interesting.
I don't know. This is the most interesting Mox has ever been, in my opinion.
Mox is so interesting because with the world title reigns he has had, like the 3 prior to this now, and this is number 4, notice who he dropped the title to after. And I'm not trying to use this as like as an example of like it's pushing the next guy, but notice who he's dropped it to after. The first time he dropped it to Kenny Omega, second time was Punk, and then the third was MJF. If you look at those three guys, right, and obviously this is, like 2 years ago, a year ago, whatever it might be, like it's been time, right? You kind of look at what the trajectory of the company was back then and how they were easing guys into a world title scene. With Omega, that was a fucking given that Kenny Omega was going to be the AEW world champion at some point, right? Made the most sense. With Punk, they kind of just threw Punk into the title picture because they were like, it's CM Punk. Hooray. And then, we know what happened after that.
Well, he was on a win streak. The point is, Mox also doesn't hold this belt real long.
No, he doesn't. Usually. Yeah. And then with MJF, right? Like, he had the belt, and MJF's like, all right, I'm using this Casino Gauntlet opportunity, and I'm winning this fucking title. And everyone's like, yeah, this is probably where he wins it, right? Like, Mox is the guy to pass the title over to the next. Hell, even look at WWE when he was WWE champion. Who did he lose the belt to?
I don't remember.
AJ Styles.
What was the oh yeah. I was going to say, what's the question?
AJ in his debut year, right? So Mox has always kind of been that guy to like, he'll be a champ and it'll be whoever comes after is going to be like the next guy going forward, except maybe Punk in this case. But, so yeah, I guess going back to even what we were talking about earlier, where Darby seems like the guy to dethrone Punk, then there's like, what about Hangman? What about Will Ospreay? What about Okada? What about Hell? Everyone's already starting to make arguments for Takeshita to be a future world champion. And I'm like, that'd be sick, but not right now. Maybe give him a year and then we'll cook from there, right? But yeah, keeping everyone else occupied with like other titles, good. We're Gucci so far. Just keep doing that. We can worry about all this later. Will Ospreay is going to be a world champion eventually. I'm not worried about him. It's just it'll be time when the time comes.
Agreed. How are we feeling? We got any more WrestleDream matches that we want to discuss, or are we feeling good to jump over?
I think we're good to jump. Yeah.
Solid. That was a solid half-hour discussion. I overall, I liked the show. Thought it was pretty good.
It was a good show.
Has me intrigued. But speaking of crowded world title pictures, to say the least, over on SmackDown, the WWE Championship, in my opinion, is hotter than ever, and I'm loving the story that's happening. So, as we discussed last time, WWE did this really creative, innovative way of turning Kevin Owens heel by attacking Cody Rhodes out in the parking lot, and they withheld their own footage because, let's be real, they definitely recorded that just in case, but they wanted to make it as organic as possible and have people be like recording it and posting it on social media on their own accounts. So that's how it spread, right? So now they have this Kevin Owens heel turn off screen. They said they handled it. They suspended him and whatever. They had a women's tag title match between Bianca and Jade and Jakara Jackson and Lash Legend from NXT. And Jakara and Lash come out, and Kevin Owens rolls in the ring from the crowd because he's suspended. He's not supposed to be there. He has a mic in hand, and he's like, sorry, I just got to talk about this. I have to talk because Cody Rhodes turned on me and blah, blah, blah. And, Kevin Owens, they cut his mic. He rolls out and goes and grabs one of the commentary headsets and starts talking into that. Cody comes out and they fight. Randy breaks it up. Like, this whole dramatic story going on between Cody, Randy, and Kevin Owens in the fall of this trio of guys has been it just kicked up a notch, 1,000%. And I'm to me, this is my favorite story right now going on in WWE as a whole. It leaves so many options on the table because later on in the night, Kevin Owens then attacked Randy Orton in the parking lot. So this now sets up Kevin Owens versus Randy Orton, Kevin Owens versus Cody Rhodes versus Randy Orton, because Orton, we know, is going to turn. Like, there's no doubt in my mind that's going to happen. We could have a triple threat at some point. There's so many options. And meanwhile, all while this is going on, Roman's beefing with Solo and the new bloodline, but also we know that Roman has intentions to get back to Cody's WWE title. So we have a very, very crowded WWE title picture right now.
So for real, here's where I'm gonna burst your bubble a little bit. There are some, and I'm gonna bring in a little bit of rumor mill as well into this. The prevailing theory is that Kevin Owens is leaving by the top of the year. there is that prevailing theory. His contract is supposedly up, and supposedly he's not re-signed anything. We're 2 months out, and the way we work now, we can literally work show to show in AEW, and we can sign contracts and debut on the same 10 minutes, according to CM Punk. So no one's stressing, but there is a level of this is KO's swan song for now. He's definitely losing, so all of this kind of just becomes him whining about his friends to me, which I don't love that angle for him. I don't know, something about this storyline just doesn't hit for me. I don't feel like hearing Kevin Owens whine about Cody Rhodes tag teaming with Bloodline. I really don't. Like, you couldn't get the job done
because you're a Bloodline Glazer.
No, because I just don't feel like hearing him whine. I just don't feel like hearing him whine. Like, this is
he's
just
justified.
Whiny.
He's justified.
I guess. Like,
he is. He literally is. Bloodline has made his life hell for 5 years.
I mean,
and now
some of this Cody, he chose to do too. Like, he chose to get back into it. He was out of it at one point.
But he wanted the title. You know. We wanted the title. Roman had that title.
He could have just went for Cody. Oh wait, he did. He literally said no, like a fucking idiot.
Because he didn't want to wrestle Cody. That also wasn't his fault.
If my friend has the world title, I'm champ. I'm fighting them.
Oh, I agree. That was dumb, but it also wasn't his fault that he didn't want the match and they gave it to him. You know.
But then he got it anyway.
But then he wanted
it.
He did want it by the end though, because he was
then
like
lost twice. So
he lost once. They had one match.
Oh, okay. Well, then he lost once, and he's gonna lose again. So it really doesn't matter.
But to me, I mean, I don't care if he loses. I mean, we watched Roman Reigns for 4 years knowing that he was going to win these titles in so many different matches. So why is it less entertaining now?
I never said it wasn't entertaining. I said I just don't like that Kevin Owens is whiny.
Okay. I don't see it that way, but I could understand it, I guess. To me, and the prevailing theory in wrestling, internet wrestling community is that Kevin is justified.
I mean, I guess I like Randy Orton's approach of, you gotta do what you gotta do.
That's fair. Yeah.
Like this, I don't know, something about that kind of personality. Like when something like that goes on, it's like, dude, it's like, stop whining, stop bitching.
I mean, I guess, in my opinion, it's like, yeah. I mean, Cody is kind of just buddy with Roman now, like as if nothing happened.
I didn't see that either. Like, I don't get what everybody's like. Oh, like they're best friends.
Cody's
now. No,
saluting Roman, Roman and Cody.
That was like Cody
goofing
saying,
around
I gotta
together.
go down. When were they goofing around?
The moments where Roman was like, and then Cody's like, all right, bet, let's tag you in.
I think
like all of that, and I know it's like mechanics of a tag match, but it's still
a tag.
Well, but Kevin Owens is still mad.
Also...
Kevin Owens is mad because
if anything, that doesn't give me buddy. Like, to me, like that's like them trying to keep big dogging each other. That's not friendship. That's big dog.
I mean, they were working together. The bottom line,
irony included.
I would say that Kevin Owens is still justified in that. He has the right to be upset that Cody is working with the people that made Kevin's life a living hell, and at the same time, it's also a little weird because
all he had to do was
Kevin
stop
also
himself with different sets of tag teams.
Kevin also had beef with, I mean, on SmackDown where the roster is like this big, not really, but with Kevin,
well, that's not his fault. That's SmackDown's fault.
Yeah, but he still has there still limits his options on who to go for, but. This is in the weeds. This is too much. But I will say it is a little weird because they are fighting people that Kevin also doesn't like and knowingly doesn't like, and that is Solo's bloodline. Solo's bloodline has put Kevin Owens through not just as much, but an equal amount of hell in an equal amount of time. Like if you took like 3 months of a Solo bloodline and 3 months of a Roman bloodline, it's like the same amount of agony they're putting Kevin Owens through right now. So KO should be pissed at everybody. So I guess he's kind of mad that Cody's picking sides, but at the same time, it's like, Kev, come on, they're fighting the people that you also hate.
Yeah, no, little whiny for me.
I mean, partly whiny, partly Cody is a professional and gives his salute and his professionalism even to those he doesn't like, except maybe AJ Styles, but that's because AJ Styles went after Mama Rhodes. I don't know. The whole thing going on right now is Cody is building friendships where his enemies are, and he's building enemies where his friendships once stood. Right now. right? So things are getting a little twisted. Now, not to say that he is becoming like, you know, acquainted, if you will, with being around Roman Reigns, because Cody understands at the end of the day, yes, I am helping you try to get your throne back, or at least try to get your, you know, thing back. For Cody, it's also, I just want these guys off my case. I don't want to be dealing with the bloodline anymore. But in order to not deal with something, you have to deal with it first. Right? Someone has to. Might as well be Cody. But Cody also understands, like, Roman wants the title back. So Cody's got to keep a sharp eye on things. Like, he can be professional on the outside, but on the inside, he's probably like, he's still looking at it. He still wants that belt. And for Kevin Owens, I get why he is being whiny. I mean, when you think about it, like with Kevin, it's kind of his whole... Kevin Owens is whiny without being whiny. He can be. Like, you look at him in years past, when he starts bitching about people, and you're like, damn, dude, like, let's start the bed.
I just don't see how the narrative all of a sudden changed from Kevin Owens being this great talker and really great at talking shit to now he's being whiny.
I never said he wasn't a good talker.
He is a great talker, but this is where
whiny and a great talker.
I feel like he hasn't changed as a talker.
He hasn't. No, this is what I'm going with, though, is that he hasn't really changed. Like, you look at any other feud he's had over the last, like, 5-6 years, right? A lot of it is just based on him complaining about something he's not a fan of, and he conveys it in a way that you're like, oh my God, he's got a point. Shit, you're right, Kevin Owens. Fuck yeah. And it's always about things that he sees as, like, what's wrong with WWE or, like, what's going on with it. Like, you know, his feud with Sami Zayn when he started in NXT, right? His feud with Seth, his feud with Roman, his multiple feuds with Roman. Hell, even his fucking dumb little feud with Elias.
To me, Kevin Owens is too smart of a wrestler and understands the concept of wrestling too much to complain about something like this. Like, this is WWE's Deadpool.
He is. That is. I'll give you that. He definitely is WWE's Deadpool. But
so there's no reason for this.
I'm so confused and I feel like, man, I don't know, man. I feel like this is a weird complaint.
It's a little weedy. It's a little weedy.
I feel like this is a weird complaint to have about this, but I'll let you have it. I can't. It's your right.
Mean, part of it, I think, it is definitely
wrong,
weird.
You
but
can't say
no,
he's
you're
not.
not.
Like, he's like
you're not wrong.
Like, he's
it's
too
just
smart and understands wrestling and breaks wrestling's fourth wall too much to complain about something like this.
I mean, he has friends. He changes over time. Like, he's turned on his friends in the past, Jericho being one of them. But at the same time, like, when he has friends, he's loyal to them until he's not, you know. But like, he's been loyal to Cody. You know what I mean?
And when you think about it, though, with all that, he's had a reason to stop being loyal. He has a reason every time. He had a reason with Jericho. He had a reason with what other major feud did he have? He has his reasons with Sammy, right? He had his reason for everyone as to why he was loyal to them at first, why he was friends, and then why he stopped and beat the living shit out of them. He has his reasons. And he has his reasons here. Whiny a little bit, sure, especially with how things are going. Because this bloodline story has evolved now where it's like fully intertwined with the Cody's friends are abandoning him, or, you know, all they really want is the title. They don't actually want to help Cody. Because look, if you look at it in the way of, like, I don't know, look at Randy, right? Randy's perspective is very simple. Cody, you are my friend. We have been friends a long time. That's a very nice belt. But I know I can't get that belt off you right now because you are still too strong. However, there's this giant group of Tongans trying to kill you and will weaken you. That will be my chance for the belt. Everyone's got their narrative, right? So Kevin Owens has his. He has his reasons. I get it. I just feel like there's too much now going on in the Cody Rhodes cinematic universe of the WWE that everything makes sense, but also doesn't make sense right now. And I feel like that can only make further sense as we progress with this story. But it's like, how much longer of Cody versus Kevin do we need while the whole bloodline thing's going on? How much longer is Cody going to be involved in the bloodlines business? because we know Roman wants his title back. So no matter what happens, even if Cody says I'm fully done, he's not actually done, because Roman Cody has to happen event at some point in the future, because that's going to be an overarching story, like an overcast basically for God knows how long. I think there's just too much going on right now. It's great that there is too much going on, but it's starting to get a little cloudy here and there.
That's okay.
I don't think there's too much going on. I think that it's that
gonna
there.
be sequential.
I don't think it's too much going on. I think that there are. It's similar to AEW. There's options to where we can go from here. There is multiple routes that we can take to get to the end goal, and the end goal is one thing, and it is some kind of Cody Roman match with or without The Rock involved. Which brings me to another point that can help bridge into the. Oh yeah, what's up?
Allegedly, The Rock is not showing up until 2025. So
Correct. Well, here is a scoop. Well, yeah,
allegedly.
That's not the scoop that I heard. So the scoop that I had heard. So first off, the initial scoop was that Rock had told WWE that he was busy during Mania 41 shooting a movie, so he couldn't do Mania 41. Now the next scoop, the follow up to that, is somebody reached out to Rock on social media and was like, "Yo, Rock, like, what's the deal? I thought you said, like, apparently you're not going to be available for Mania 41. Like, why not?" And he's like, "Don't believe all the bullshit you hear." He replied to them and said that. So, to me, it sounds like that the point of Rock not being available for 41 was a manufactured dirt sheet to throw people off the scent, to keep people on their toes, and for Rock to actually wrestle at 41.
I mean, that's fine. I don't know what he's doing at 41. Everyone's a little busy.
Triple threat.
No. Well,
I think
we've done that, but we've done this argument.
Or we go Rock Roman 1-on-1, non-title.
No, give me the trilogy, bro. I'm all for
I think we're due for another Mania triple threat main event.
I agree.
Pass.
We're supposed to get one at 40 and didn't get one.
Stop.
I'm just kidding. I'm fully joking. It's the
decade?
the decade thing.
The decade
20,
thing,
30,
yeah.
40.
2010 wasn't a triple threat.
I know. It's
But
just
then again,
a joke.
we also had a triple threat at 37.
20 and 30.
35 as well.
35.
The women's triple
yeah,
threat.
The women's triple threat.
Yeah.
37.
37 was Bryan and Edge.
So,
yeah, okay.
I don't know. So, Rock being all types of confusing.
Rock being Rock.
You know, it is what it is.
Yeah.
I think the long term for Cody is he's gonna finish up this KO feud either at Survivor Series or he's gonna finish it up in December. I don't think this is gonna be Saturday night's main event. I don't see them hitting a third.
Nah.
My original prevailing theory was Rock at that or Rock at Raw, which is what Tyler has been saying. Which I think Rock at Raw makes a lot more sense. You got to get this Cody Rock match out of the way. You don't know when you want it. You have massive shows coming up. I don't think they want to do it at Rumble. I think they want to do Randy.
Yep.
Which then can open up which can get rid of all the stuff and can open up the road to do either the trilogy or the triple threat or whatever else you want to do. Personally, I'm taking a trilogy.
Personally, could also see Cody Roman at Saturday night's main event, depending on how they work it. I don't know how big they want to make the show. I don't know how big they're going to make the show. I could see them making this like it's not an A show, it's not a B show. Let's call it like a B plus A minus show, you know? Like it's not like the international pay-per-views that are a B show that the crowd make an A show. It's not an A show on paper like in the States, like a Big Four. It's somewhere in between is where I would probably say they're going to make that. What better way than to have Roman and Cody main event it, you know? Prime time. What better way if they had Rock involved on it? They could have Rock and Cody on Saturday night's main event. You
Rock
know?
and Cody. The problem is, I don't know if it's a good or a bad problem to have, but maybe you can consider it a problem. I don't know. Anyway, they like to have these big matches at big cards, especially at big venues. The Nassau Coliseum is not like, you know, it doesn't scream Rock versus Roman main event. Yeah, Cody's probably going to main event the show defending against. I could see Rock Cody on like Saturday night's main event? Maybe. I don't know if The Rock wants to do that. That's the other problem, is that you have a guy whose ego is so overinflated that he's like, I gotta be in the main event of the biggest show, like, just period, right? And again, like, Saturday night's main event coming back, that's a big deal. I just don't know if The Rock is thinking, finally, The Rock has come back to Long Island, New York at the Coliseum. It was like UBS Arena or something, sure. Or even if they were doing a game at Citi Field, or if they were doing the show at Citi Field, like, if they used the baseball stadium and did like Saturday night's main event as an outdoor show, sure. But like Nassau Coliseum, and no offense to the Coliseum, it's a historic venue. It's great. Like, okay, I don't know about great anymore. I know they've renovated it kind of, but like, yeah. Do you get what I mean? Like, the occasion calls for it, but the venue doesn't.
I don't.
But that might be.
That.
I could. What, you don't foresee what that match for Saturday night? Okay, so here's So here's my reasoning. Let's look at the history of Saturday night's main events. Consider it the first ever Saturday night's main event was held on May 10th, 1985. Someone want to tell me where it was held?
Madison Square Garden.
Wrong. It was held in the Nassau Coliseum, which is where they're holding it this year.
Oh, shit. Okay.
Now, the main event of that.
What?
The main event of that, granted, think about the time period where in 1985, Hulk Hogan versus Bob Orton for the WWF title.
Bob Orton was in the main event of the first Saturday night's main event?
Yep. The second one.
Wow.
The second one in East Rutherford, New Jersey, Hulk Hogan versus Nikolai Volkov in a flag match for the WWF title. The third one, Hogan and Andre versus Bundy and Big John Studd in a tag match. Fourth one, Hogan versus Terry Funk for the world title. The next one, Hulk versus Morocco for the WWF title. Next one, Hogan and JYD versus Terry and Dory Funk. Next one, Hogan and Paul Orndorff. Says the guy who brought up all the Bad Blood main events last week.
Well, okay, fair enough.
I'm just
I'll say fair enough, but also the conversation of treating Saturday night's main event at the time in the 80s was definitely a monthly show at most.
It was twice a year. Or actually, the first year it was held 4 times.
Exactly. So
it was taped. It was May 11th, 85, October 85, November 85, January 86, March 86, May 86. And so on. So every few months.
So the point still stands though that not.
But it was a pay-per-view for that time.
No, it wasn't.
It was. I'm not saying it was pay-per-view, but it was treated like a pay-per-view at that time because that was the big shows that they held for wrestling. Go to
the modern ones from 2006. Like they were also WWE Championship matches.
The modern ones, you'd be surprised they actually weren't. There was one in the modern era.
Really, there was a Cena Edge one.
Yep, and that's the only one.
No. Are you serious? That was the only one?
The first one that they brought back in 06.
Squad.
Bringing them back in 06, the first main event was Shane McMahon versus Shawn Michaels in a street fight. Then it was Edge John Cena for the title in 06. 07, they had Cena Khali non-title. 07, in August, 2 months later, they had Cena Carlito non-title. 08, they had Edge Jeff Hardy non-title. But my reasoning for not bringing those up is like at that time, that was when those shows were like dime a dozen compared to other shows. Whereas this one is a one-time thing, and they seem to be bringing this back as like a big deal. Yes, Yusuf.
Did you say 08?
08.
Was Edge and Jeff Hardy?
Correct. This was August in 08.
Ah, there we go. I was like, when the fuck was that a thing?
Yeah.
I don't remember that at all.
Sometime in the summer.
But the reason I bring it up like this is because think of where it is in the calendar, right? December. And it's a primetime show. It's on Saturday night. It's on NBC. It's not on Peacock. It's on NBC, I believe. Like, as in, like, cable. And on prime time at 8 o'clock. Like, that is a big spot for WWE.
Nobody's going to watch it, though.
That is
what day is that happening?
It, but I mean,
what day is the show?
The concept of being in prime time and not on streaming at 8 o'clock on a Saturday in 2024 is not the same as it was 20 years ago.
Still a big deal.
Still a big kind of.
Still a big deal.
What day is it on?
December 14th.
Half the people don't even have
I don't
cable.
know the weekday. Can you just let me finish my point? Stop poking holes in a point I haven't finished yet.
Okay,
Saturday.
you guys keep doing that. I'm gonna look up something just to see if it's competing with anything that night. Because it's on cable, this makes things interesting. Give me a minute.
Okay. So while
Probably
he's
a
making
bowl
that,
game.
so while he's making that point, let's think about where we are in the calendar and what the point of this timing might be. So we're talking Saturday night, prime time in December, when no one has anything to do because it's so fucking cold. So the only thing that they can do is sit inside and watch TV. And they go
Football, college finals.
finish my point. Thank you. I have the floor. Let's have decorum here. No, but think of where we are, right? Like, you want to have a big match here because this is during the holidays. It's during the cold. There might be other sports, but it's a Saturday. So there's, as far as I know, there's really no football. I don't know football as
College.
much. Well, okay. Thank you. But not conducive to my point.
8 p.m., by the way, is the Colorado time.
Dang. But I will say this. What comes right after December in WWE calendar? I'll tell you, the road to WrestleMania, the time that's most important for WWE. Saturday night's main event in December could be the event to hook people going into Road to WrestleMania season to build the biggest audience they could for WrestleMania 41. What better way to do that on Saturday night primetime television at 8 p.m. when it might be going up against college football than putting The Rock on the show?
College football is waxing a WWE show. It's still waxing.
It's The Rock.
Even no matter how good WWE
It's
is
The
right
Rock,
now.
though. It not only pulls people from the
football is
sports world that
waxing.
might be watching college football, but it will pull people from outside the sports world because it's The Rock.
Everything I agree with you with. I just don't think primetime 8 o'clock on a Saturday is as big of a deal as it used to be.
And you are 1,000% correct. I'm not knocking that at all.
But you keep bringing that up, and I'm just like, it really
Well,
doesn't
that's the
matter.
point
It's just another show. It's just another Saturday show.
I mean,
it just happens to be on NBC instead of pay-per-view.
It's
That's the only
still better.
difference.
It's still better for getting an audience than being on Peacock. It'll probably be simulcasting on Peacock, but
I was gonna say to me it really just becomes a moot point, and it just turns into another Saturday wrestling show.
that could be fair. But we also don't know how it's being booked yet. And I think it seemed to me like it was kind of a big deal that they brought it back and made it a thing.
Bad Blood was a big deal.
Yeah.
Just a Saturday night show.
I don't know.
Started at 8 o'clock.
I wouldn't call Bad Blood a super big deal.
Actually, no, it started at 6 because of UFC, but still.
Correct, yeah. But still, I think that it could be used as a really beneficial time to really hook the audience in going into WrestleMania season. Kind of like how that press conference did for Mania 40.
I think they did that already with Rock coming at Bad Blood. I think people are already calling this basically the soft launch. So
yeah, that could be. But what do they build to?
I think we're there.
It could be. But what are they?
That's what we're getting there.
Yeah.
Sir.
So to the earlier point though regarding
We do have more stories to tell than just now to
We
Saturday
do.
night. We have now to WrestleMania.
Yeah.
So Saturday night's main event could be the catalyst to start that story on
could.
a more
Yep.
momentous level.
The other thing too is to the point earlier of it being on cable and there's other things people are probably watching that night. I figured, okay, it's December when it happens, and that's normally when a lot of things are happening in sports, especially like getting for holiday games or for college football. It's right before all the bowls start and playoff season starts. So luckily, the only thing they'd be competing against as far as cable broadcasting is the NBA and their
NBA.
in-season tournament thing that they run. Because the NFL doesn't have any games, obviously, on a Saturday night. And college football, the only game that's happening that day, not night specifically, is the annual Army-Navy game. But that's in the afternoon. That's in the afternoon. That's at 3 p.m. So they're safe. Yeah.
So NBA, NHL, any hockey?
Obviously, there's hockey going on. I don't know if there's any marquee matchups that day, but they normally don't do that until after Christmas. So... yeah, they're only real.
More people watch the NBA and the NHL than the WWE.
Of course. Yeah. Surely
that's not
plus,
me being unfair.
they're also on NBC, right? So it's interesting that it's going to be on cable and not on streaming. But okay, sure.
I'm assuming it'll simulcast to Peacock since it's on NBC.
I
but
foresee it going to Peacock as well, which then again kind of makes it moot.
But also kind of doesn't because the streaming platforms have the channels on the platform anyway. So
yeah, I would say more people have streaming than cable right now.
Yeah,
that's just
for sure. But it's also the timing,
which is why cable to me doesn't, like, being in a primetime spot like that doesn't really matter to me.
Yeah, that's valid. But I think that's where they go in terms of that story. But one thing I did want to bring up too, moving on from that, is the promo that Roman and Jimmy cut on SmackDown. Since we talked about the Cody stuff, yeah,
No
Chef's
yeet.
Kiss.
No
Yo,
yeet.
that was hilarious when he said no yeet to that. That was awesome. So basically, Jimmy Uso comes out, welcomes the crowd to SmackDown. I gotta say, I don't remember Jimmy being this good on the mic and that charismatic, and maybe that's just me forgetting, but like, I thought he was great. I thought he was really good. I thought he was on par with Jay. It's hard not to compare the two because they're twin brothers, but yeah, I thought it was great. Roman comes out and acknowledges Jimmy, which is really cool. So when he said acknowledge him on Twitter, he meant Jimmy, which is really cool. Good for Jimmy to get the rub. They bring up the wise man, bring up the fact that Paul's not there. Roman said, interesting point, Roman said, I'm not a wise man yet. So could Roman transition to more of a managerial role when he gets older? That could be an interesting thing, or more of a rock role at some point, mentor role. I could see that. But that being said, Jimmy is basically like, Roman says that he's not happy where they're at right now, which, okay, we kind of figured that would be where we're at, but it's an interesting story nonetheless. Roman saying, like, it was interesting because Roman was like, I remember, Jimmy, you called me wanting to buy a house, and I said, I don't care, buy them all, do it. You know, we had that money, we could do whatever we wanted. And now that the empire has fallen, which very interesting way the story, you know, is moving. And Jimmy basically is like, we need help. And Jimmy's like, I know one guy that could help us. The crowd's going, yeet, yeet, yeet. And Roman just goes, no yeet. Yeah. Here's my thing, guys. Here's where I think we go from here. So basically, that's how we left that promo segment. And then later in the night, Jimmy lost to Solo, which was interesting. Jimmy lost his debut back on SmackDown to Solo to further put over that they need help. Here's where I think they go. I know that the obvious answer is that Jay is the next one to join up, and that's who Jimmy's talking about. Yeah, yep,
Nope.
You know what I'm talking
Not
about.
yet, though.
I
Not
think
yet, though.
you know who's cooler with Jimmy than Jay right now? Sami Zayn.
Sammy.
Yeah,
I think
Baby
Sammy. I
time.
think Sammy
Habibi.
joins. I think Sammy joins first, because let's not forget who was the first person to welcome Sammy to the bloodline when he was taken in. Not Jay. It was Jimmy.
It was Jimmy. Yeah.
Jay was the one that was hard to win over. Jay was the one with the cold shoulder. Jimmy has been cool with Sammy since day one. And even when Jimmy and Jay had that feud, you know, Sammy and Jimmy had Sammy and Jimmy were feuding for the tag titles once him and KO split, or when Sammy left and joined with KO and the Mania 39 stuff, right? But it still was like, it wasn't as personal and as deep as Jimmy versus Jay's feud was, because the last time Jimmy and Jay were interacting, Jimmy cost Jay the Intercontinental Championship over Gunther, which Sammy later went and won, and then they faced off at
not
WrestleMania
true.
40.
The last time those two touched, one of them was going through a table.
With Jimmy and Jay?
Off the ramp.
The last time we saw either of
That's
them
the
was
last
May.
minute.
Well, yeah, you didn't let me.
Yeah,
Again,
Mania 40.
you got to let me finish my point, because then I said I was going through the story. I said we last saw him when Jimmy cost Jay the title, and then they faced at Mania, and then they did the thing in the Roman Cody match. Yes.
So then that would be the last time, not the title match. It was
Dog.
weird wording. Sorry.
No, you're good. You're good.
That's weird wording.
But yeah, the last time we saw him, that was what they were going through together, right? So and we never got the resolution. They never, hashed things out. Never got the resolution to that. So I don't see Jay just being like, oh yeah, let's put that aside. Let's put that aside so we can face the bloodline, the new bloodline, right?
Because Jimmy's got to apologize to Jay too.
Yeah, and
So-
who's closer to Jay than Jimmy? Sammy. Sammy's gonna be the one. They think that Jimmy's the guy that's gonna bring everybody in. It's gonna be Sammy, and I think that's great. I think that fits very well.
What do they call him? The honorary Habibi. That's my guy.
The honorary.
Bring
I'm
bring
dead.
Sammy. Come
But-
on, I'm waiting. It was a great story though. It was a great story.
was.
I
And
really
they-
wanted somebody's music to hit.
I agree.
I knew it wasn't gonna happen.
Or ladies and gentlemen,
well,
that would have been great.
I think.
At-
I mean, if the goal is to get all the way to
get the
Survivor
band
Series,
back
I think
together?
I think the pop is going to be at Survivor Series for Heyman.
I can
think
see
that's
it.
a very-
Oh,
think
yeah,
that's a
I
can
safe
see it.
bet.
I think the thing with like how we're going right now with them getting the band back together, obviously Sammy is more than likely next, because Sammy, of course, as you guys have like brought out the point, I don't want to reiterate, but Sammy's been that middle ground between everybody, between Roman and Jay, between Jimmy and Jay, between Jimmy and Roman, everything, right? Lest we forget, probably one of the greatest segments to have ever happened in the history of SmackDown was the, all the issues with Sammy and the confrontation and everything, and Jay running his mouth and yada yada yada, and Sammy going, no, this is not what the tribal chief wants. The tribal chief wants peace, and of course, Jay, man, I don't give a damn what the tribal chief says. Roman doesn't forget these things, right? And Roman knows, yeah, him and Jay ain't great. He's aware, but Jay's good with Sammy. Jimmy's good with Sammy. We gotta get Sammy Uso back, baby.
Who knew that after all of this, Sammy would be the glue? Sammy would be the glue.
Sami Zayn is the catalyst.
Zayn held it together in 2022 and early 23.
You guys, I want Sammy to come back just to be like, guys, I understand. We're just not feeling very Usi right now.
If he pulls that again, I'm gonna.
He's gonna pull it. At least they're ready. Yeah. At least they're ready for it this time.
Yeah, Absolutely. They'll be warned. Not like last time.
Well, they won't. They won't be warned, but I think they have a good enough.
Yeah, they have an idea. Like, oh, he's gonna say it.
Realize.
Yeah.
I think it's also super interesting the way that it's gonna, the way it'll play out, because like once they all get together, like they're all like very different individuals now from when the Bloodline was at its peak, right? Because the Bloodline felt like it was Roman and we used to literally say Roman and the Twins and Sammy, right? And everybody's identity was the Bloodline. Well, now they all split up, and Jey Uso is now a singles guy. He's his own guy. He's the Intercontinental Champion. He's the Yeet Man. Everyone's yeeting all over the place. Jimmy, he's, Big Jim. He's the guy. He's Evil Miles from friggin' Beyond the Spider-Verse. He is that guy. He is the evil Jay. Like, that's immediately what I thought of, by the way, when Jimmy came, when we saw the face-to-face with Jay and Jimmy, and he had the braids. Oh, yeah. We have Sammy, who has become the contender. His whole thing was, like, he was the underdog. He beat Gunther. He proved to the world that he can be his own guy. He beat Gunther, and then he faced Gunther again. Like, he's found himself, after all of this. So to see everybody come back together with all these individual personalities now under the Bloodline, and with Roman Reigns now, like, being like, okay, these guys are more than just my hired help at this point. They're more than just my family who will help me win matches. These guys are their own guys. They can handle themselves. I fully can trust them to handle business on their own. Like, it changes the dynamic of how these guys interact, and I'm super excited to see, like, where that goes. And it's also interesting because I know we talked about Cody getting involved in the Bloodline stuff and whether or not he'll be involved in this. I think Jimmy and Cody had a backstage segment this week that fully cemented and reiterated that Cody is done with the Bloodline for the time being. Where Jimmy was like, he said it a couple times in the promo where he kept tapping the WWE title and being like, and you got your own story, Oos. You got your own stuff to worry about, man. Get you some. Like, it's your own thing. Like, go do your thing. We appreciated your help at Bad Blood, but we get it. You got your own stuff to worry about. So I thought that was good too.
Same ski.
Great. One last point on SmackDown, because the show was great, but we only have certain points that really need to be brought up. The story between Nia and Liv Morgan started kicking off on Friday as well. Liv Morgan, Dominic Mysterio, and Raquel Rodriguez show up on SmackDown. Surprise appearance. So it started with Nia basically pressuring Tiffany, saying, you're going to cash in your briefcase on Liv at Crown Jewel. That's how it's going to be. I'm going to beat Liv Morgan, and then you're going to cash in and win the women's world title so we can both be women's champions, right? And Tiffany's like, yes, my queen. Yep, I'll do that. And then, it's clear that Tiffany wants to cash in on Nia, but she just hasn't yet. And Nia's kind of intimidating Tiffany into not doing it. So they all show up on SmackDown during a match between Nia and Naomi. Raquel distracts Nia. Liv uses Tiffany's briefcase to smack Nia and costs Nia the win. So Naomi gets the win there to set up a potential title match between Nia and Naomi down the road. And Rhea Ripley then shows up out of nowhere and attacks Liv and Raquel. So we're playing up the story with Liv and Nia. We're playing the story with Nia and Naomi, and we're playing the story with Liv and Rhea. I'm loving it. I'm loving it. I thought it was very creative and a great way to use all those talents involved. And it furthers the narrative to me that Liv, Dom, and Raquel do not need the Judgment Day anymore, and the Judgment Day should just call it quits. We need to just split everybody up. Carlito can go play as PS5 backstage. Finn and JD can keep defending the tag titles and be this tag team of, mentor and protege. And Liv, Dom, and Raquel can be their own faction at this point, because I think that the three of them together is money. Damn.
I don't have enough thoughts on this, honestly. It is what it is.
Wow. All right.
I think it's time
Yeah.
for Judgment Day to,
Pack it up.
go. Yeah, it's about time. Nothing really much else you can do. It's not like anyone else in that faction could be a world champion anytime soon. Sorry, Finn. But yeah, like Liv goes off on her own because she's got Raquel, she's got Dom, right? Doesn't really need anything else from there, and you just build from that. Right, that becomes the main point coming out of the Judgment Day. So yeah, it makes sense. The thing with Tiffany Stratton, I'm still under the belief that she's going to cash in at Crown Jewel.
Oh, 1,000%. She's going to cash in on Nia.
Yeah, she's going to trick Nia into thinking she's cashing in on Liv. And then she's going to end up, when she hands the briefcase over, they're going to be like, who are you cashing in on? There's 2 champions in this match right now, and it's not a winner take all. You got to pick one of them. And Tiffany's going to be like, I pick, and Nia's going to be like, Liv Morgan, and Tiffany's going to be like, Nia Jax, and Nia's going to be like, what?
She's going to do the Batista, the thumb.
Yeah. No, like, they're going to give the briefcase to the ref.
And then Nia's going to be like, oh, shit.
They're going to give the briefcase to the ref, and then Samantha Irvin's going to be like, who are they cashing in on? What? Okay. Liv Morgan, Tiffany Stratton is cashing in her Money in the Bank briefcase. Therefore, this match is now a title match for the... And Nia's expecting to hear the other title, and then she hears her title and goes, uh-oh. Yep.
Or she's already going to be knocked out, just like not with it.
So the question is, would they do it? The question is, does Tiffany Stratton cash in during or after that match?
After the match.
Yeah.
If they do it during the match, it'll be too messy. Because then it'll be like... Yeah. Then it's like, what title's on the line? Could
also the crown
Liv
jewel
hypothetically? Yeah, true. Could Liv hypothetically pin somebody and win Nia's title? Like, what? How does that work? It's too murky. I think they'll just avoid that.
That'd be hilarious.
Imagine.
Think about that though. That'd be insane. Liv wins the match, gets both belts and the crown jewel belt, and then just runs. Man, but that would be really hard to. I'm a
big fan of the prospect of Nia and Liv. They're 2 heels of the opposite type, and I think it's going to be fucking great. And I'm so excited to see Nia fuck around with Dom and Raquel as well. I think that match is going to be really good. I think people are kind of complaining about how they've rushed into this feud so far. I thought it was great. Listen, the match is happening, whether they like it or not. They may as well start fucking with each other now to build it. Like, I get it wasn't organic, but like the announcement of the match wasn't very organic either. Triple H just came out and said they're fighting. So like, we're already in the situation. We may as well fight now, But I guess that's all we got for SmackDown. Really, there was some other stuff that happened. LA Knight retained his U.S. title and stuff. Game 7's gonna happen. Nick Aldis literally called it Game 7.
Can we talk about the
debut
news?
Yes, I forgot that in my notes. The Motor City Machine Guns are popping up next week. Literally one of the best tag teams in wrestling that I've ever seen. I've loved the Motor City Machine Guns even when I had my brief TNA phase in late 2000s, in early 2010s. I loved them. They were my favorite tag team, and I am super excited to see them on SmackDown. They're going to take the titles off the Bloodline. Like, that's no question. No question there.
I can't remember how long ago this was now. It was before Forbidden Door. That's what it was. Smash Wrestling, the main local Toronto indie that runs here. Shout out Smash Wrestling. Love you guys. The main event of their show was for the Smash Wrestling tag titles between their champions, Saint and Sinner, who are now working for TNA. Cool. And they were defending against the Motor City Machine Guns. And it was my first time finally getting to see Sabin and Shelley in a ring together after being a fan of theirs for like 15 years, 16 years, it feels like since the old days of TNA. And obviously they're a lot older than they were back then when everyone saw them on TNA or when, you heard about them, like just ruling the tag division ranks back there. they still got it. They're still really good in the ring, and I am so ready for them to be on SmackDown. It's gonna be fun. Like, the WWE universe is going to enjoy watching the Motor City Machine Guns just do their thing. Now, we asked this in our group chat, but like, my question is, are they gonna be going as the Motor City Machine Guns, or are they just gonna go as MCMG? I think they are going to stick to the Motor City Machine Guns.
I think
they
so.
have to, right?
And if not, they'll just call them MCMG, but we all know what it means. It's like AOP,
exactly,
right? Like,
yeah.
they call them the Authors of Pain now, but for a brief period, they were just calling them AOP with the understanding that we knew what the AOP stood for. So I think that they could do that as well. I'd be down. I mean, listen, they brought the War Raiders back. They're not War Machine, but they are bringing back
also
War
not
Raiders.
Viking Raiders anymore, thank God.
No. So think about the tag team perspective, like the tag team potential we have in the future. We have War Raiders coming back as the War Raiders. We have Penta and Rey Fenix being like, they're being held in contract purgatory, but once that's done, they'll be signed.
Both of them. It's just Phoenix. That's the shitty part. Yeah,
it is. But listen, I can't complain because WWE has done it in the past, and I'm not.
Yeah, exactly.
As much as it sucks, that's the reality. They signed the contract. They gotta honor it. Whatever, right? But yeah, we have Penta and Phoenix. We have Motor City Machine Guns. We have War Raiders. We have DIY. We have Street Profits. We have AOP. We have the Creeds. Dude, American Made. We have the Wyatts. Like, dude, we are like the WWE has so much potential to have the world's best wrestling tag team scene, and they just don't do it. Like, why?
If Triple H, since he's got the pen, if he books this tag division as a whole of the company, not just like Raw, SmackDown individually, but just as a whole, if he books them the way they booked the tag division of NXT in like 2015, 2016, we're in for some of the craziest shit we'll ever see. Like, here's the thing, like the Motor City Machine Guns, they can have a DIY revival level match with anybody on that division. Dude, imagine the Motor City Machine Guns and the Bloodline is gonna cook. Like, Jacob Fatu in the same ring of the two of them, or even if it's Tama and Loa, like, it's gonna be good. The Creeds and the Lucha Brothers is gonna cook. The Lucha Brothers and the Motor City Machine Guns is gonna be insane. War Raiders, everything, like anything you think of. Even tag teams down in NXT.
I was gonna say Fraxium.
Have fun. Fraxium. Give me Chase U. Like, oh my God.
Yeah, man.
If they book this properly and really, give substance to the tag division, we're in for a renaissance.
And it's so weird because it feels like when we had the unified tag titles, the undisputed tag titles in the last couple of years, it felt like we had more teams than we could even come up with to be a part of this scene and mix it up, but it felt like they were all in purgatory because Judgment Day were holding the titles hostage. And then it was the Bloodline holding the titles hostage before them, and Kevin Owens and Sammy were actually, they were very brief, and then Cody and Jay as well. Like, it felt like when they were two titles together, they were kind of holding up their whole division as a whole, because when they were on one brand, the other brand wasn't getting any love, and they were just fighting for nothing. So then the second we split them up and have two belts now, one for each brand, it's like they forgot how to handle the tag division that they had handled for multiple years. So I just hope that they find their footing now, instead of using it in stories that aren't involving tag team guys.
I think part of it too has to do with the quality of the tag teams they had. The big problem I always saw with the unified era was you had like 3 teams that were actually suitable to fight for those titles, and then everyone else was like, oh.
And all the rest were just made to look like dopes, like the Revival.
Yeah. Oh, God.
Shaving each other's backs backstage.
I mean, tag team wrestling has not really been booked well for like years.
The last time tag team wrestling has looked good was NXT Black and Gold. Like DIY, Revival, American Alpha, that era was like top notch. And they tried to recapture that magic in the years after that with AOP, with the Broserweights, with the War Raiders, with all of those teams that were in NXT after that, but it just never got to that same level of magic. And I think that there is definitely a possibility, a capability to get there. We just haven't gotten it yet.
I think a big part of it too is just kind of the limitations that, people talk about this all the time with like the limitations that these guys had in NXT versus the limitations they have on the main roster. On the main roster, it's like, oh, maybe don't use this move and don't do this and yada yada yada. Because when the old man was in charge, he was very picky about what he wanted to see on the show. In NXT, it was like, hey, do you guys want to do a half an hour just barn burner of a fucking 2 out of 3 falls match or whatever? Yeah, all right, go have fun. You come up with whatever the hell you want. Go now. Granted, we are in a time where the production team for WWE matches has been cooking pretty well. Like, Jason Jordan's on that, Bobby Roode, Adam Pearce, Abyss. Abyss, of course, produced that Hell in a Cell match between Punk and Drew, and that was great. So there's trust to be had with the with booking and with the production team for matches. They just have to. They're just going to have to get the wheels going like ASAP. Like the second Sabin and Shelley show up next week, put your foot to the gas and just go. Like you don't want to waste any time right now. Yeah, I know they have the whole Bloodline story going on where like they're still got the titles, but like you got to start picking up the pace.
Definitely. Let's jump over to Raw because Raw was the worst Raw in weeks, if not months. It was the first Raw with a 2-hour format because, as we've discussed in the past, we're kind of in between the main contract that they had with USA and the contract that they now have with Netflix for Monday Night Raw. So this contract period between now and January when they go to Netflix was a separate contract that they signed just as a temporary extension to hold Raw, keep Raw on TV until they go to Netflix. So with that being said, USA has bent them over because they loaded the show with commercials. They dropped an hour from 3 hours to 2. They had to rush a lot of stuff. It was very chaotic, awkward at times. Pacing was off, too many commercials. It wasn't great. I was lucky enough to watch it afterwards and skip all the commercials, and I'm glad because I probably wouldn't have been able to deal with it.
So everybody just needs to calm down. It's week 1 out here.
Yep.
Like Raw has been 3 hours for the last 12 years, and USA has seemingly bent over backwards to give WWE everything they've ever wanted. That being said, here we are. We're in this little extension period. They still know how to book a 2-hour show. USA also has SmackDown right now, so it's not like USA doesn't understand the vibe. Everybody knows what's going on. It's a curve, right? No, they haven't, because I want to believe that there's some different people on Raw that are writing SmackDown. I want to believe that Triple H is splitting up the load a little bit just for.
I think there are distinct teams too.
General workplace vibes is mostly what that's for. Is just so you're not burning out everybody, especially on a weekly television show that doesn't stop. It's growing. It's a switch. Just give them a week. Give them a week or two. They can book a 2-hour show. They're very capable. They did it for 20 years before that. Like it's fine. Like.
Agreed.
Relax. It's not
Agreed.
A problem. These next 2 months aren't going to suck because of it. There's plenty of stuff to do. SmackDown's always been 2 hours. So
Yeah.
like
The
it's
SmackDown
fine.
team has had months to figure out how to write a 2-hour show, and they're finally hitting their stride. Raw has been spoiled with 3 hours and a massive roster to fill that 3 hours of time, and now they have a 3-hour roster with a 2-hour show. And I think that they understand that some stories need to skip a week and not be told, but they haven't. I think that they were like at a point where they didn't have a choice. They needed to play all these stories out this week, and we'll get to a point where we can have off weeks for certain stories. I just don't think.
Which is also really strange considering that they doubled up on Monday. The other conversation about Monday is that they had our live episode, and then there was a tape.
Well, that's because this week they're in the UK on a house show tour.
So there's a tape this week. That is fuck, I just totally lost my point. So they definitely had time to like split it. So I am a little confused as to why they did it that way, even though they had 4 hours of time in an arena with a crowd. So
they did have some interesting stories play out. I won't spoil because Raw hasn't happened yet, Some people from SmackDown jumped over as well. We've been seeing a lot of brand crossover.
We're doing some crossover because of the champions matches. We're gonna do some crossover because of War Games. We're in a time period of flux. It's fine once you kind of get to this point. This is the down
period too.
You kind of need to start wrapping up some of your year things, and everybody moved around at one point because it was a draft. So there's some year-end stories that you got to kind of bookend, and this is the way to do it. So again, this Raw being a little poop, a little cluttered, and it probably wasn't even poop because I didn't watch it, but it was probably not. It wasn't even bad for the sake of the story. It was just bad because it was cluttered, and that's the easiest problem to fix on a TV show.
There were great stories. I will say the beginning was a little crazy. It opened up with Punk coming out. He's beaten up, he's bruised, he's battered, and he's like, I need to go away for a while. I don't want to be here. Translation, he doesn't want to wrestle in Saudi. And then Seth Rollins cuts off the end of the promo. They do a little stare down. Seth bumps his shoulder as he walks by. He gets in the ring. He cuts a promo. He wants revenge on Bronson Reed for attacking him. He's like, you want your 15 minutes of fame, big boy? I got you. You name the place. It's going to probably be Crown Jewel. Then, at that point, we get into a title match between Jey Uso and Xavier Woods. And so that happens. Jey retains. That match felt super short. That match should have had way more time, but again, it's the victim of the 2-hour Raw. They had to try and work with what they had, so they had to rush that match. Xavier loses. He refuses to shake his hand, and Kofi's like, "What are you doing?" And Jay's like, "He beat me. Congratulations." It was great. Xavier is cooking on that heel turn, but that all happened within a half-hour period of time, which was kind of a lot. But from there, I don't think it got too bad. The most that anyone suffered was the women's division. The women's division had one match, and it was a 10-woman tag match, and people online were like, it's giving, late 2010s women's division, and I couldn't agree. I couldn't agree more. It was a lot. It was
a strange.
It was a get everybody on the card. It was a getting everybody on the card.
So again, let them figure it out.
Yeah,
they'll be fine.
Yeah. And then also, I forgot to mention as well, Braun also attacked Jey Uso after the Intercontinental title match as well. So that also happened.
The thing we should have had 2 months ago.
Yeah. Well, that brings the idea of we were talking about a Braun Breaker face turn after he lost the belt, and we were like, okay. And then he had the thing with Gunther backstage last week. And
yeah,
we're like,
he had a moment.
Yeah, he had a moment. We're like, all right, face Braun, heel Gunther, and then he attacked Jey, and we're like, I guess he's still a heel. Sure. I don't know.
Right? Yeah.
Here's the thing.
I don't know,
There's
man.
the awkward, anyone listening, you're hearing awkward silence, but that's kind of how I'm feeling about this right now is you booked him as this monster heel, and he lost. He's shaking Jey Uso's hand, whatever, right? Then he has that moment with Gunther where he's like, I can take that title off you. And you're like, ooh, okay, face Braun, that'd be good. And then he attacks Jey, and you're like, so is he going back after the IC belt? Or
so my giving them the benefit of the doubt, my brain is telling me that was a red herring. There have been multiple instances where Braun has been like, yeah, we're cool, and then he turns around and spears somebody, and it's like a fake out. I think this was just a week-long fake out. However, this could have been a legitimate pivot where they wanted to build that Braun face turn and build the Gunther match, and then they were like, nah, never mind, let's just have him turn again. It very well could have been planned or not planned. But either way, I think it still makes sense.
The classic Big Show double turn.
My God.
Where instead of two people turning, it's just the one guy turning twice in a day or a week.
Yeah. Gunther and Cody had a promo as well on Raw to kind of put over their match at Crown Jewel. It was a really good promo. They both literally were like, I have a lot of respect for you. I have a lot of respect for you as well. We're going to fight, but I'm going to be better. And that's exactly how they should treat the match. If it's going to happen, they're doing it right. Gunther then defeated Sami Zayn in the main event to retain the World Heavyweight title. Cody comes out, and he stares down Gunther to end the show. USA giving no fucks with the overrun. Cody was about to hold up the title. He had his belt, and he was about to be like, and then they ended the show. So that was that.
Yeah, USA's got him on a tight leash right now.
Yeah, very much so. And I will say it was cool how they played it up, because obviously with the match between the world champion and the WWE champion at Crown Jewel, there was a possibility that Sammy won the world title that night on Raw and then would go on to face Cody at Crown Jewel. So they made an alternate poster with Sammy holding the world title on the poster, if in the event that he won the world title that night, which I thought was really cool. It kind of kept us on our toe. It kept the thought in our minds of like, Sammy could win. I mean, it wasn't going to happen. The more likely scenario was that Gunther was going to retain. But Sammy, there was more. It gave us more of a reason to believe Sammy could win. And I think that that's really well done in that moment. I think that they should continue to do that in the future.
Yeah. It's nice that they're doing it. It's just
agreed.
a matter of when they actually do it.
Right. Right.
Although I don't think that matters as much. I think the thing is, it's good to kind of throw that at the fans of like, this could happen. Ooh, right? At the same time, it also builds hype and more intrigue toward the actual match that's happening of, it will be Gunther and Cody. It could be Cody, Sammy, but it's going to be Gunther, Cody. Because now you're like, oh, is Gunther going to retain? Now we don't know. We also really want Cody and Sammy, but we really want Gunther and Cody. What do we want, right?
And Cody Sammy would have also made sense with the growing tension between Cody and KO, and after KO attacked Cody at the end of Bad Blood. It
also would have tied in nicely to last year? Oh, it was only last year, wasn't it? Where Sammy had his world title match with Roman at Elimination Chamber in Montreal, and everyone's like, are we doing Sammy versus Cody at WrestleMania for the belt? No, right? There's no way.
You silly Canadians.
You
no
silly
way.
Canadians and
No
your
way.
thoughts. Imagine Canadians thinking
You silly
straight.
Canadian goose.
We don't talk about those here.
I hate them too.
Don't we all?
Oh man. Couple of quick NXT notes. The reign of the ruler Obafemi is over.
R.I.P. bro.
R.I.P.
We'll see him in a month.
Yeah, fighting Trick. I really do think he's the next NXT champion.
I will accept that.
I think he's the NXT champ first, and then go to the roster.
Yeah,
I really
plan
do.
was the roster.
I don't know how long Trick will hold the world title for in NXT, but I foresee him holding it for at least a few months. I think Oba could go away for a little while, and then he can come back and beat Trick for the title. I think that's a no-brainer for me.
I don't even think it should be a little while. I think it should be Oba gone for a week. Yeah, I think Oba should be gone for the week, and Tony D'Angelo running his mouth being like, I beat Oba Femi, and now he's disappeared, no one's heard from him. And then next week, Oba comes back and just eats everyone. Because for Oba, he doesn't take defeat lightly. He's not like everyone else that like you lose the biggest match of your career, or like you lose the title that's made you, and disappear and go, oh, I have to reflect. No. This ain't Oba ain't about that life. Oba's loses title. He's going after the next big thing he can find, and that's the NXT title.
My only hesitation with that is like, my only hesitation is Trick just got the NXT title like literally 2 weeks ago, and he is. I feel like that was that. First off, I called that for like months. Second off,
I mean, that wasn't a huge hot take.
I mean, we didn't know when anything was going to happen, so for me to call it at that exact event and that night made sense. But the point of it being like the restart of the new era of NXT was meant to establish Trick as the face of it for me. So I can't see him holding that title any less than at least a couple of months.
Okay, so here's what we do.
That's what we said last time there was another rebrand.
And he did hold the title for a while.
To the white and gold.
And he did hold that title for a while.
We just said that. He can't. So he's been the face.
But he did lose. But he lost.
He's been the face.
No, but the point is he lost the title to Ethan in a match where he wasn't involved in the pinfall, and he technically never lost the belt. So it's been this journey of Trick getting a belt back that he never lost in the first place. reestablishing him as the face.
I'll take that one. I'm not gonna. No, I don't like that.
I mean, on a new era, new network, new audience, new branding, new perspective, new presentation, and a new champion. Yes, it absolutely means you're establishing a new face of that era.
Yeah,
he's still
business
just
plan,
the
right?
face.
Oh,
I don't see much change other than.
I think the only change really is this is a Trick Williams that is a lot more mature than the previous NXT champion Trick Williams, which is not that long ago, to be fair. But the character development from when he lost the title to now is there's a lot there. It's only been a few months, but there's a lot. And it's now a more mature Trick Williams, because this is now, like, you got to remember, when Trick won that title, yeah, we knew he was going to be the face of NXT for a while, but that was when NXT was still, NXT 2.0 or whatever the hell they were calling it at that point, white and gold, the colors of the rainbow, whatever the fuck. It was still Trick Williams was still kind of green. Like, when he won the title the first time, people were still like, I don't know if he's, like, ready. Now, after 4 or 5 months, he's ready. He's ready to properly lead this new era of NXT into the next however long. My personal take is I think he is going to lose it. Do they normally do the NXT shows after the PLE? Is that how that works? Or before?
It depends. It depends on when they have
There's no
it.
pattern.
Okay, I thought there was. But
if the PLE's on a Saturday, it's a Sunday NXT, and then vice versa. And if it's a 2-nighter like WrestleMania, they usually do it on Saturday afternoon.
Got it. Because I was thinking, like, Rumble time. What would you rather have? Would you rather have NXT champion Trick Williams show up at the Rumble, or would you rather have Trick Williams fresh off losing the title? Because if you think about it, like, say they do the
Fresh
NXT
losing.
show like the day of, right, the Rumble, and say Oba wins it at that event. So Oba's NXT champion, Trick is no longer champ. Oh my God, what's next for Trick? Or what's next for Trick? Later that night, shows up at the Rumble. On the other side of it, if he shows up with the belt, gives NXT a good look, then Trick loses it eventually later to Oba, right? So there's a couple avenues you can go down there. I'm just trying to figure out which one might be more
I lean more toward the latter.
financially fun. Yeah.
But I understand the losing the belt and then going to the Rumble. I could see that too. There's a pros and cons to both.
I don't know. I guess to me, it's just like that's very clearly been the money drawer for NXT for at least a year. So this whole establishing him as the face of the brand is weird to me. He's already been that. He's been that for like a year and a half.
I think it's more so the fact that, like, with the network move, with the move to arena audiences and traveling and touring more than just performing in the one performance center space, it opens up. I think they're trying to open up NXT to a wider audience, a bigger audience. And so with that new audience, they need to reaffirm Trick as this is the guy who is carrying this brand. Let it be known to the people that are just tuning in for the first time that this guy is NXT.
Yeah, like the safety netting of the performance center and everything is gone. The smaller crowds, it's not a thing anymore, right? Bigger crowds, they're doing arenas now. And I think this was all, well, obviously it had to have been planned. It's a fucking business. If they did this with no plan, what kind of billion-dollar business are you, right? This was all part of the plan, right? By the time they got the CW deal done and they went, okay, we know that Trick is going to be the guy going into CW era. He's going to be the guy that leads this brand to the era of performing for a far larger group of people. Who better than the guy that gets the biggest pop in NXT to be the guy that leads that big of a crowd with this roster? Because like we talked about this a while ago, right? Or maybe we did. I can't remember if we actually did on the show. This is now NXT Black and Silver, is I'm going to call it, is all of NXT 2.0 that's developed, right? We had the developmental phase. It was not fun for a while, and then it got good, and then it really started cooking. And as we are now in the CW era of NXT, where these guys are all developed now. They're ready to go. They're ready to lead the show without the net of a small crowd being in the performance center. Now they're, kind of on their own, right? They're going on the road. It's a different crowd every single week in a different city, different atmosphere, different everything.
Also, the new setup looks fucking sick.
It does.
Especially the St. Louis setup.
Is that what they're going to do the whole time, though? Where was that? That looked almost like a convention hall. Like, where was that?
I'll find out. The St. Louis one.
Really
the
weird.
Chicago one looked more close to a regular arena.
Is
But
it
I mean, the
St. Louis
Chicago
one,
one was just the Allstate Arena, so it was just
Yeah,
a
it's
normal.
Allstate. Was it the
It was just
Enterprise
a normal
Center
setup.
in St. Louis? Is that what it is?
was the factory.
Where the hell is that?
Factory at the
What's
district.
the capacity at that place? Because
Yeah.
that place, it didn't look huge. It was
It
maybe
wasn't.
500 people.
It couldn't be huge. Maybe a couple thousand. I'm trying to
I don't
find
even
it.
think it didn't even look like 1,000 people.
3,000 people.
That was an interesting. I liked that little.
I
setup, though.
really
That was-
liked that setup, and they even
Yeah.
had
I-
seats on the stage. That was cool.
Yeah.
I personally, for me, I think doing NXT arenas, even if it's seated, is a bad idea. I think that's not the move. I think
Yeah, it's
just
got to have a
knowing-
different feel.
that, and also I think just the concept of it, you can you don't want to do those 2-night package deals for forever because you do kind of want to make
It's
money.
probably
as a
only the
company.
big arenas that they know they can fill it. You know.
Well, even still, like I think of Stand and Deliver, like that Wells wasn't full.
No, it
So
wasn't.
how you gonna and that's WrestleMania weekend. That's like the time to sell out an arena 4 times in a row.
Yeah.
And it wasn't full. There were plenty of empty seats.
Yep.
So I guess my
However,
my-
though-
I would
however,
stay
though-
in those 3,000 rooms that they
Yeah.
did this week.
I will say though, there were. I know for a fact because I know there were people at Money in the Bank that did a similar thing that bought combo tickets, just didn't go to NXT. So they got the money for it and got the seat filled for it, just not physically filled.
Yeah.
Which I mean, at the end of the day, I guess they care about the money, but you don't.
The optics, I agree.
The
I
optics,
very
you
much
want
agree.
you want butts and seats.
Yep.
And
I mean, to be fair, the Allstate doesn't seem like a giant arena, but is it? Correct me if I'm wrong. Is it?
Yeah.
It looked smaller on the
normal
show.
arena, normal
Yeah.
arena 20K.
Okay, it looked smaller than
It was
normal on
probably-
the show, and I don't
It
know
was
why,
probably
but
12,000 in there,
Valid.
but it was.
yeah, I
it
think
was-
they
it's
closed up the
definitely-
upper section.
It's
but-
it's normally a 20K arena. It's a
Okay.
normal.
But
arena.
still, I thought it was a good start for NXT. I agree, though. I think that they should try and find a
Don't-
smaller venue in the area that they have Raw.
don't make the same mistakes that AEW did, and don't make the same mistakes you made the first go around with the fight with AEW, which
Yep.
we conveniently remember that they lost.
And listen, Collision
Yeah.
Collision. It seems like the wrestling community prefers when Collision, because they know the Collision can't fill an arena, that people are enjoying Collision in non-arenas, like non-arena venues, like smaller venues. I think it looks cool.
It looks cool. It's a different feel. Like I mean,
Warehouse feel, gym feel,
I like
that kind
Yeah.
of stuff.
warehouse feel.
I
Nothing
agree.
wrong with that.
Not at all.
Especially the new way they do warehouse feel, where it's still like this giant LED screen and like this tiny
Yeah.
ass warehouse. It looks cool.
Yo, the NXT warehouse setup, the St. Louis setup would be. Imagine how cool an underground match would look in there.
That was the one.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that was the
that's
one.
it. Well, I was
Yeah.
actually about to say, funny enough, because you mentioned underground. I wasn't thinking like underground, like the Raw Remember that Raw Underground?
Lucha?
Oh, I was thinking Lucha Underground. Yeah, that
AEW Underground
old-
coming soon.
Oh god.
Oh god, no.
I was thinking of like the Lucha Underground style, where it's warehouse style, but warehouse style with like crazy production levels, right? I feel like we can get to a point like that. Maybe not exactly like Lucha Underground, but it's nice when the bigger companies are doing Lucha Underground-esque feeling of show. Not a big venue, but you make it feel big. You make it feel like huge in there from the way things are going. So, yeah. Oh my god, we've been recording this long?
Yeah. It feels like going into these weeks, I'm like, there's not much to talk about. And then it's like, we get into
we just
it.
go. I mean, we spent
But-
half an hour on AEW, to be fair, this week.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I will say the NXT women's division, one last point, is absolutely cooking. We got Julia and Stephanie Vacant feuding with Roxanne and Cora. Like, fuck yeah, dude.
I'm so ready.
Give me the fatal 4-way.
Plus, they're already hinting at it, right? Like Julia's like, "LOL, I got my backup." Stephanie Vacant comes out. Everyone's like, right? They attack Cora and Roxanne. They get them out of the ring, and they both grab the NXT Women's title, and they both realize they're holding it and look at each other like they both want it. I'm like, oh come on, we're gonna get the tag match first, obviously, and then give me the fatal 4-way, and then at the end of the fatal 4-way, Delta attacks, and then it's gonna be they're gonna championship. Oh, please don't bring back the championship scramble.
I think Delta is going to beat Kalani for the women's North American title at this point.
Probably.
I think that's where Delta ends up. But I would be down if Delta just rolls up for the 4-way.
It'd be kind of crazy if they had Delta like steamrolled immediately into the NXT women's title picture. But I think the North American might actually be safer right now. Because as far as like, here's the thing about Delta. Between her, Vacant, and Julia, of the 3 major women signings that they just made, she's kind of the lesser known still. Right? So it'd be good for her to do the North American thing first and then go from the women's title. Because like fucking Julia and Vacant, like those two, they've been transcending every wrestling company that wasn't WWE or AEW. So, well, not Stephanie Vacant because she was at Forbidden Door. So, yeah, like, you know, it makes sense. But yeah, we get the tag match, we get the Fatal 4-Way. I theorize fully that all of them are going to get called up at the same time. Just a clean sweep. Because then you leave room for like Sol Ruka to carry the division or something. I don't know.
See, I think it's because nobody is ready in NXT right now. I could see Cora spending more time in NXT because she's been injured for the majority.
Yeah, she's been hurt for so long. Yeah.
She's had more time on the shelf than she has active at this point.
She's great on the mic, but
she is great on the mic. No.
True.
Yeah, she could definitely work on her wrestling skills.
And she deserves a run with the women's title. Let's be real. She deserves a run with it.
Yeah.
She got it, but then she got hurt.
Right.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. But I think that's the episode. That's the discussion in the current landscape of wrestling. We got a lot done today, fellas, but let's talk best in wrestling. And I got a real good one because my fucking boy, Ethan Page, all ego, rolled up on Monday Night Raw this week to turn up and be like, yo, Adam, I'm here to talk about your guy CM Punk because he cost me my NXT title. He hit the go to sleep on me. I'm just looking so we can get something going here, like get some repercussions on Punk for screwing me over. And Adam Pearce is like, what the hell are you talking about? And it doesn't matter that the segment really meant nothing. It was just to get eyes on NXT the night after. But just the excuse to have Ethan Page on Monday Night Raw and the fact that out of everybody on NXT, because the goal was to build intrigue and get eyes on NXT the night after Raw, right? So it could have been any NXT talent to go on Raw and put over themselves and put over their storyline in order to get eyes on NXT. They chose Ethan Page to do that. So the fact that they chose Ethan Page to roll up on Monday Night Raw and talk to the big players like that and handle it that way shows me that they have a lot of faith in Ethan Page, and I think that he'll be on the main roster at some point in 2025. So my best in wrestling this week is Ethan Page turning up on Raw.
One of us, I'll go. Tim's yawning, so anything happen on Raw? No. You know what? Screw it. My best in wrestling this week is from last night at WrestleDream, and that is the Ospreay Ricochet Takeshita triple threat, because that shocker cooked like hard. Who's surprised by that at this point? It's gonna get like an 8-star from Meltzer, and it's gonna be fun. No, but it was a great match that properly showcased just how pedal to the metal those guys actually are. Not a lot of resting in between. It just went. Good time. And also new champ. Takeshida's finally got a belt. Hell yeah. Now what the fuck are you doing with Ricochet? Oh. Oopsie.
Now we got this really cool belt called the Continental Crown.
Ricochet dethrones Okada. Imagine that headline like 5 years ago.
So you mentioned star ratings, and I just had to be curious, and I had to go see if some of the Bad Blood star ratings. Did Punk get a 5-star?
Punk got a 5.
5 stars?
Well fucking earned. Yep. And well fucking deserved. Good job, Dave. You made the right call for once.
Yeah, I know, right?
Now
I was kind of like, I know we were all iffy, but I think the ratings came out a couple days ago, and I'm like, oh, thank God it got a 5.
As it should.
Yeah.
Anyway. Yep. I mean, mine is really no surprise either. I'm going to say, because of what I saw, I'm going to go with that Roman Jimmy promo. That was good stuff, man. That was good stuff.
We're back with the Bloodline story. We're back with the slow-ass matches and storytelling.
Well, this is great, man. Great story.
Bloodline Glazer.
It's not my fault they're the best part of wrestling.
They're quite literally the best in wrestling. Hey, that's the point. That's the name of the game.
It's not my fault.
That's the name of the game.
They've been hot for 5 years.
Still going. And y'all,
ever since they fed Baron Corbin dog food.
God damn it! Don't remind me. And with
Come a
that
long
note,
way.
with that note, thanks so much for watching Vacant Wrestling Podcast this week. If you love what you just saw and what you just listened to, you can follow us on TikTok at Vacant Wrestling. You can follow us on Twitter at Vacant Wrestling. Or it's actually not at Vacant Wrestling, but just search Vacant Wrestling. We're on Twitter. You can subscribe to us on YouTube. You can leave a comment. You can like this video if you're watching the video.
We're on Twitter?
We are. Vacant Wrestling, no vowels. But we're also on Apple Podcasts and Spotify as well. Wherever you get your podcasts, we are there. Go find us, Vacant Wrestling Podcast. And ladies and gentlemen, we hope you have a great fucking week. Keep an eye out, because on YouTube, I have a couple ideas for some YouTube videos I'm going to put out this week. One of them is I'm going to put together a tier list of wrestling championship belts purely based on appearance. Should be a fun time. So, y'all.
Hey, there was a McMahon video that was going to happen too. Just saying.
There was, but hype's died.
We really got to keep up the streak of things we were going to do and then didn't. So,
yeah.
Bear down.
Go Lions.
Okay, bye.